Hello, welcome to another episode of the Unstuck Club. Hi, Di.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm good. It feels like there is a lot going on.
Mhm.
Feels like this is also going to be a little bit of because people are part of the podcast and the closer
Yeah.
community, maybe a little bit of a deeper conversation. I think it might be a little bit of confession time. Because Yeah, I'm gonna launch right in and say I've been working on getting unstuck from um, letting some health issues not be catastrophic. Not that what's wrong with me is catastrophic,
Mm.
but the way that how I've had to process things have kind of just been catastrophic. And I know it sounds like such a big word, but it actually has been that big. Um, should I just launch in and tell a little bit of what's going on? You've
Yeah, I think so because I think that will lead
Yeah.
really well into what I
What
want to share and
mm,
what I want to ask you about
yeah.
this very topic. So, yeah, but only
Um,
as much as you're comfortable sharing.
yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah.
not
So
that kind of podcast where we just
no, we have to
throw it all
be
out there.
it's interesting because it's felt like not sharing it is actually bringing on a layer of shame, which is definitely not what I
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to do. So it's actually quite important that I share. You've been an amazing support. It's actually been a month. Tomorrow is going to be a month that I
Wow.
was diagnosed with systemic candida. Systemic candida is when it goes into your blood.
Okay.
So that's the next step is what's called acute candida when it goes into your organs, and that is really not good. So it's in my blood, it's surrounding my white blood cells. Um, and it was kind of like a perfect storm of hitting perimenopause, shifting some things that happen around that aging process, and the fact that being vegan, every protein is actually a carbohydrate at the same time. So the beans, the tofu, and the just too much of all of those carbohydrates with the estrogen and the cortisol
Okay.
literally just has this perfect storm in my body. And this isn't guesswork. I actually went for blood analysis. So we were looking at the blood, and I was seeing my little white blood cell, and it's a perfect white blood cell. Um, uh, like in there, but it literally looked like it was desperately trying to get out because it was encased in all of this candida.
Okay. Okay.
Got to get it out of my system. This woman was amazing. She said to me, there's just no way you can be vegan anymore. There's just
Yeah.
no way.
Wow.
9 years of being vegan. It
That's so
was
huge. When you told me that, I was in shock. I was like, how is this going to work for you?
It's interesting because it's a 9 year in numerology, right? So it's the end of
Mm.
anything that doesn't serve you. And what's interesting is I think that we always are under this impression that we're going to decide what doesn't serve us.
Yeah,
I'll choose that
absolutely.
this relationship doesn't work, or I'll choose that I want to change my job. But we
Yeah.
don't actually know the things that are not serving us that we need to shift and change.
Mm.
Um, I said this to you, and I really mean it when I say this. I don't stay in unhealthy relationships. I just don't.
Yeah.
Uh, and with that, I can't be in an unhealthy relationship with my body or with the food that I'm eating. So um, everything was crying and a trauma to initially do. But
Mm.
I'm now eating eggs and goat's cheese, and I've had a bit of salmon. And I was eating cultured yogurt and kefir from milk kefir.
Mm.
Uh, and I'm not going to say cruising along, but okay with all of it. And
Mm.
the milk now is not working. The
Okay.
yogurt is not
Okay.
working.
Yeah.
Milk is not working. So it's now the next thing that, I've got to shift.
Mm.
And um, protein is so important in the body, right? And I've had to kind of unpack why I went vegan. Oh, when I do the coaching, I've done this with you. We when we do the process, the steps of faith, the one step is intention, to ask why. To ask
Yeah.
myself why I initially went vegan, and a big thing was it was for diet and weight loss. So I actually had to put myself off eating meat. So you get
Okay.
into the news and and then it's like you can't eat something with a heartbeat beat, and oh, thank goodness I don't have to bite into flesh anymore.
Mm.
I've got to undo all of those
Right.
things for the health and the well-being of my body. Um, because I've genuinely learned that it is impossible to say never. And I'm sitting with a woman who's actually just given me enough evidence that having animal protein in my system at the moment is very important for my healing.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. I still, when I think about it, because I know how passionate you are about what you eat and why you don't eat it. But I guess it is that like, it goes back to that our bodies have their own consciousness.
Yeah.
I mean, my Reiki master was vegetarian for years, and then one day just had a craving for biltong and started eating meat on the quiet. None of her family knew. And one day she said to her husband, "What would you say if I told you I was starting to eat meat?" And he'd go, "Yeah, like, in your dreams." And she said, "Well, I've actually been eating meat on the quiet for 3 months." She dropped something like 47 kilos in weight. Her
Wow.
joints, the inflammation decreased. This is the thing that I've always said, is our bodies are so unique to us.
Mm.
And I absolutely get, not eating things for ethical reasons. But sometimes it can come at a cost to our well-being. And yesterday I had a conversation with someone who had been referred to me by her family, who basically said to her, you need to sort your baggage out, and then your health will be fine, if it was that simple. And we
Yeah.
had a lovely, lovely chat, and she's just turned 60, and she's really struggling with fatigue. She used to be an athlete. She can't do any of that anymore. She's been, and I have to say, I'm not knocking any alternative therapy.
Mm.
Let me just preface this, what I'm going to say, with that. I'm not knocking them. However, she's been working with two specific alternative therapists for 5 years. All this started 5 years ago. She has spent thousands and thousands of rands, which the medical aids don't cover.
Mm.
And she's had no relief whatsoever. And I just said to her, have you ever been, because one of them did mention that they didn't think her body was assimilating nutrients properly. I said, have you ever been for a blood test or to see a medical professional? No. And I was like, don't you think that's a good place to start?
Yeah.
Because these are not medical professionals. And I think the medical industry is being given a very bad rap at the moment, especially with everything that's going on in the States and all this stuff around the COVID vaccines.
Mm.
You cannot, dismiss all avenues of medical treatment. And that was, and I agree that, when she told me a little bit about her life, I do think that massive stress and burnout and fatigue has played its part and possibly been the trigger. The person that she's been working with for 5 years, she's had no relief whatsoever. It got to the point where she couldn't afford the supplements and the meds any longer. The other person, she keeps going week after week. There's no indication of what's happening, how long she still has to do all of this. And there's no advice for her. There's no information on what's going on in her body. And, eventually I said to her, why don't, and there are a couple of good functional medicine doctors in this town who work with the whole body, but they work medically as well. My mum's body would lose iron. They could never figure out where it was losing iron. She had to go for regular iron transfusions. And eventually she realized, like, apparently if you pull the skin on the back of your hand when your iron is very low, the skin has a certain way that it bounces back. My mum would just keep a packet of biltong. And then she would have the biltong for a few days and it would sort the problem. But I have a friend who 21 years ago had breast cancer. She was going to someone, it was one of those machines that you hold in your hands and it's supposed to clear all the parasites. This woman kept telling her, you do not have cancer in your body. You do not have cancer in your body. And after she'd gone through, and she's fine. I mean, she's been in remission now for 20 odd years. They got it all. And I said to her once, I said, did you know that there was something wrong in your body? And she said, I did know. But I wanted someone else to tell me I was fine. And I think the point of talking about this today is we need to get unstuck from giving other people power over our health. Like you went to someone who sat you down and went, here is your blood analysis. This is what is going on. Then you can take action.
Yeah.
But there is a tendency with some alternative therapists to completely dismiss the medical side. I'm following a guy on LinkedIn at the moment who was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer unexpectedly. He's on an amazing journey. He has just, the post I read today, he's just literally let go of his oncologist. The oncologist gave him 11 and a half months. He's done so much research. He's combining all kinds of different things. His tumors are shrinking. All of his blood work is improving all the time. But he's not just, he's not just letting other people tell him what to do. He's researching. I mean, it's so detailed what he's doing, but he's doing it for himself. And if it feels right, and he goes, and he said, I really just got, like, don't let them keep telling you you've only got 11 and a half months. So I'm fascinated, like you started a month ago with your journey. You've made such a big switch eating, and I'm sure there's some people listening to this going, oh, how could you do this? And you can fix it in other ways. And maybe, but you have to do what's right for you. And I said to this woman, like, please start with going and getting a full physical, get your bloods done. It could be a viral infection. It could be parasites that it could be anemia. If they are telling you your body doesn't assimilate nutrients, please go and find out if that's true and what nutrients do you need. It may be a simple diet shift, but 2 people are just making money out of her without giving her any indication of what exactly is going on. And the biggest thing is she's not feeling any better.
I think it's such a brave thing to admit that you are not as in control of what you think you're in control of. I think, and that is kind of a point that you have to get to. Like I came back when I was in the Netherlands, I reached the weight that I wanted to be, like my beautiful, comfortable weight. And like that genuinely was this perfect plan. And when I came back to Joburg, I initially was like, oh, I mean, I was even saying it's the Joburg air that's making me pick up weight. But things just didn't feel right. And the biggest thing is that my stomach wasn't right. That was actually the deciding thing. Like my stomach wasn't right. And it's such a big thing. Like I'm just saying to anyone, if your stomach isn't right, like literally your stool, if your stool is not right, there is something wrong in your gut. And I I don't want to just go like for blood tests. So that is something about me. I don't want to just go for blood tests. I wanted to go and like have a deeper understanding. If I had gone for blood tests, they would have said, so just a little bit of a back step is that because the candida is so overgrown in my system now, it's surrounding so many of my different types of cells. None of the nutrients were getting in. So they would have said to me through a blood test, you have low iron, you have low vitamin B, you have, so it would have been all that low, and I would have taken the additional tablets, right? Supplements, and carried on. But I wasn't actually getting like to the root of what it is. And sometimes we've just got to be brave enough to do the thing to get to the root of what it is.
Yeah.
And then I think that that becomes intuitive, or that becomes the type of thing that you resonate with, or the type of person that you resonate with. And I resonated with her because I had heard about it before, that she is qualified in blood analysis. She works with people who are going through perimenopause. She works with people who are in different stages of cancer who find out, like she does stuff like that. But also prescribed me, so I'm going away when I come back because I couldn't start the treatment. She's prescribed me an antibiotic. She's not
Okay.
so holistic or so homeopathic that she's literally saying, if you do not, we need an antibiotic to kick some of this out of your system as quickly as possible. And sometimes we've actually just got to admit to ourselves that we don't have all the answers, and that there are people who are they are passionate and they are qualified.
Yeah.
And we were born into an era of modern medicine. We were not born into an era where we didn't have something for the common flu. I mean, it's just happened now in the house. Liam went to the doctor. This doctor swabs for everything. She's not going to say you just have flu. She's going to say what type of flu you have. Is it viral? Is it bacterial? She doesn't mess around, this doctor. And she put us all on a precaution, like straight away. She was like, this is viral. It spreads quickly. You all have to take this precautionary medication. I didn't look at the box and go, it's from Big Pharma.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and once again, we're not knocking people who have made that kind of choice. But you've got to really feel well and healthy in your system for the choices that you are making. If I had gone for a regular blood test, right, or for the swabbing, and she had told me all of this, and I could have said to her, but I don't feel unwell, it would be a different story.
I think people have become scared to ask questions. I mean, I tend to agree with the GP, like finding out, because there are different kinds of flu. Some are bacterial, some are viral. So you get a whole lot of things and they don't work. And then the guy goes, okay, well, maybe it's this. Let's try that. And you just keep taking drugs, and I think the big thing is you don't feel any better. And if you know it's something that has to run its course, then it's like, okay, I need, first of all, boost my immune system. How can I do that? What is the best way? And then maybe going to speak to a naturopath or a nutritionist who can advise you and go, okay, bring this into your diet, for the next couple of weeks. Let's get your immune system strengthened. And I really, having this conversation, and, when I messaged you about it, I was really angry that this woman has spent so much money with no solution to what is going on with her health. And I feel like we're at that time where, as we become more conscious, it is to take responsibility for our health and go, okay, this either it doesn't feel right, or it's not working, or like with you, eat dairy, Joe. Well, actually, my body doesn't really like it. I'm going to need to have to find an alternative.
Mm.
But we've become sort of very hamstrung around our health and professionals, health professionals, whether it's alternative or whether it's mainstream medicine. We're at their complete mercy sometimes.
I told a friend of mine that I've got this systemic candida, and that like literally I went for the appointment on the Friday. She got me all the information that I needed by the a couple of hours when I got back. That Saturday I let it all sink in, and then that Sunday my sister went out with me. We bought all the stuff. She made me my first brownie with a cake with an egg mixed into it. And by the Monday, I'd completely shifted how I was eating.
Mm.
And I told a friend of mine, and she was like, I'm so impressed with you. I've also got an overgrowth of candida. And I know, I love her. I love her. So she's going to know, and she knows she does watch the podcast, and she's going to go, it's me. Because she was like, how did you just not eat the things that are not good for you? And that is it's a part of my personality. It's a part of my personality is that literally in my place of power, I do not stay in toxic relationships. It doesn't interrupt other things, like there's maybe places where I could have fought a little harder for a relationship to work, and as soon as it's toxic, I'm out. But I really struggled to get her to understand that I can't comprehend putting something in my body that doesn't serve me. And I'm sharing it because I'm saying it with so much compassion that I've got friends and I've got family who really try and do the healthier thing for themselves. Like wheat is really bad for them. And then they'll eat something and then they'll have really bad stomach cramps for like the next 2 days. But 2 days they can't just say no to the wheat. And there's some people who can, and there's some people who can't just say no. But the thing is that there is a system within us. We know this, Di. There is a system within us that navigates us to what is best for ourselves, and then it's overridden by the mind.
Yeah.
So when that wheat is not good for you, or that dairy is not good for you, then the body is saying that, and either the mind controls you, or you actually start to control your mind. And at some point you've just got to love yourself enough. I don't know how else to say it. Like, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing in my life and helping people if I could not look in the mirror and look directly in this camera and say, I really love myself. And I love myself enough to not put something in my system that is going to hurt me or harm me in any way. Does it make maybe someone else feel uncomfortable because they're trying to love themselves? Maybe. And I'm also saying that that's okay, because trying to love yourself is the greatest gift you can give yourself, because that little bit of trying builds momentum. It actually builds them.
Yeah, it's, the other morning I was doing some journaling, and one of the questions that sort of came up in the writing was like, we know that you love serving other people, but how is it serving you? And it was around my work and the things that I'm doing. And it was like, how is it serving you? And I was like, wow, I had never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
And it's the same with your body and what you put into it. How is it serving you? I mean, I know with me, my sister and my mum and I, we're the wino girls. We loved our wine and our bubbly. I can have maybe 2 glasses, and that's it. And I can go weeks and weeks now without having a glass of alcohol, which a couple of years ago, here when I moved here, every night was a glass of wine. And my body is just like, no, I don't feel good on it. It doesn't
Yeah.
serve me. But that question, like, is it serving me? And yes, we all have that, I'll have the piece of cake or whatever it is, but the consequences are actually not worth it. Like, rather find a gluten-free cake. Like, find the things that support your body that are still a treat. We're human. We all want the treats. There's a reason I don't keep biscuits and chocolates in my house because I would just eat them. That's when they're here and you're on your own, I'll just have 2 squares and I'll have 2 biscuits, and then you've eaten the packet. So we do have to take that into account, that we are human.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm in awe of your discipline around your health and your body. You are, you just are so focused. And the other thing is, Jo, you will do what it takes to put it in place. I mean, you don't arrive at me with nothing, because my kitchen, I don't have a lot of the things that you eat. You come prepared. You are working out all the time. When you do the trip back to Joburg on the bus, you don't just go, I'll see what they've got at, one of the stops along the way. You take the snacks that support your body. So, yes, you do have to if you want your body to work with you, you do have to make a bit of an effort to make sure that you have the things in place. Otherwise, it's very easy to just fall off the wagon.
I want to share such a beautiful story to wind down. I walk in the park and there's this old man. He does have he's got a carer with him, but he doesn't. So he walks with a stick. He's got a big dog, and then the carer's walking like next to him. They're chatting the whole time when they walk. And a couple of weeks ago, I saw the carer in the park with the dog, and I was like, "Oh, the old man! That's it. Old man's gone." And so I stopped him, and I was like, "Is the old man okay?" He said, "Yes, he's at gym."
Oh, wow!
So I said, "Oh," so he says, "Yes." They walk. They walk. I think he said they walk 3 days a week, and he gyms, but he does a little bit of something every day.
That's amazing.
So I said to him, out of curiosity, how old is the old man? The old man is 94 years old.
What? That's such a great story. I love that.
And there he is walking with his dog. Then they walk and they talk. And, we've also made being healthy and eating things, we've made it such a drama. We've actually made it such a big story. Like, walking is beautiful, and it's good enough, and it doesn't have to be a marathon, and it doesn't have to be a park run 5K. A 5K is a lot for someone who's getting started. So it can feel so overwhelming. I mean, learn how to eat. And I'm going to say it again because it's important. Learning how to eat for myself. It was like 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and when I told my business partner, and I have a practical business partner, not an emotional business partner, right? His practicality was, you're good at transforming your relationship with food, Jo. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I second that.
Which is true. And every person's just got to find out what they're good at, because we're all good at something. And whatever you're good at will help you navigate a better relationship with yourself, with your body, and with yourself. And I'm going to say this because I'm Miss Independent. I can solve everything myself. That has totally changed. Something that shifted for me in this 9 year is I do not have to have anything figured out on my own, first of all. And I am only an expert in my field. I am not an expert in any other field. And
Yeah.
now I consult the blood specialist, I consult the nutritionist. I'm even putting together a social media strategy because it's not my forte. We've actually just got to admit to ourselves, this is not my forte. I'm not an expert in this, and I need to find the expert to help me. And the
Yeah.
very last thing that I'm going to say, we are alive in a time where we have brilliant minds, and these doctors and these scientists and everything that is being put into place, it is years and years of trying to figure things out. Is there corruption? Yes. Is there abuse of certain things? Absolutely yes. But there are ethical people out there who were born wanting to be the doctor, wanting to be the scientist, wanting to make the world a better place. And they're here to help us.
Yeah, I think it really, that message of just like take responsibility for your own well-being, because you can have all the goals and the intentions in the world to shift. If your health is under par, you don't have the capacity. You don't have the capacity for life when you're not feeling well. And I really, she's promised to keep me posted.
Good.
But I said, please, like, take back your power around your own body and your own well-being.
Yeah.
And I really just like, it really hit home yesterday how much damage can be done to people. And I understand that some people are well-meaning, but there comes a point, like, it's not working. I don't feel well. So my heart went out to her. She's just so despondent after spending so much money. So please just get unstuck from allowing other people to have power over your own well-being. Absolutely find the support. Try different things. Do your research. Research is at your fingertips now. There's no excuse. But listen inwardly and not externally when you are struggling with physical well-being. And I will get off my soapbox now.
And trust your intuition. We know when something's not right.
Yeah,
we
do.
know.
Yeah, we do.
All right.
Right. Great topic.
Good. Thanks for all the support. We know that there's some people who listen to every single one of these, and it means the world to us.
Yeah, so really, I love the feedback when you get that message going. Like I felt like you were speaking just to me. Those messages make my heart sing. So we will see you all next time.
And with that, we say goodbye.
Bye.